stunning defeat for Democratic Socialist Francesca Hong in Wisconsin overnight, and it's raising new questions about the DSA's momentum and the polling that was way off. In the last 5 polls conducted in Wisconsin's Democratic gubernatorial primary, Hong had double-digit leads between 11 and 22 points over David Crowley, the Milwaukee County executive who ended up winning by a narrow margin. Hong's loss in Wisconsin came just 1 week after DSA-backed Abdul El-Sayed narrowly won Michigan Democrats' U.S. Senate primary. Final polls there showed him with a double-digit lead, but he won by barely 1%. These outcomes, of course, raise questions about who's being polled, narratives, and how voter sentiment is translating at the ballot box. So could it be that more attention on socialist candidates and the DSA's agenda is proving to be a liability for these far-left candidates? I asked No Spin News host Bill O'Reilly what he thinks of these polling misses and a lot more earlier today. Take a look. Joining us now, the one and only Bill O'Reilly. Thanks so much for being here, Bill. Always good to see you. Lots to talk about tonight.
You know, when you say one and only, that could go either way.
I mean it in an endearing way.
I appreciate it.
Yes. So let's talk about politics.
Thank you, Katie.
Of course. Big political week, of course. Francesca Hong had a double-digit lead in the polls ahead of the Wisconsin gubernatorial primary against David Crowley. Crowley had dropped out at one point and then got back into the race, yet Crowley won the night. So how is it that the polling is so wrong? And it wasn't just this week. It was last week, too, in the Minnesota races.
Because the polling outfits are incompetent. So here's an interesting story. When Donald Trump was running against Kamala Harris, I looked around for a reliable poll. I could not find one. I had to go to Brazil.
Oh.
To Brazil.
Okay.
In an outfit called Atlas. And I used them, and they were right on. And the reason that we got them was we traced back for 3 years what their polling was and how it stacked up for accuracy. There wasn't one poll in the United States of America that was accurate more than 70%, 60%. And that's the state of the industry.
I mentioned Minnesota, which was last night. I met Michigan last week with the polling. But you say that there's no good polling, so what does that mean going into November? I mean, everyone says Republicans are going to lose the House. Is the polling Republican versus Democrat just as bad as we saw Democrat versus Democrat last night?
Well, when everyone says anything, you know it's stupid. Okay, so the reason it's stupid is because a lot of things going to happen between now and Election Day in November. So this Iranian thing has got to come to some resolution. Good news on the inflation front for Trump today. A whole bunch of things are cutting his way and Republicans' way because of the lunacy, and I mean that word literally, on the far left. This Hong person doesn't want Thanksgiving. This is what she's telling her constituents in Wisconsin. You can't have Thanksgiving because we're such an evil nation. We shouldn't be thankful for anything. I mean, once you get into that zone, the regular folks, not the ideological zombies, okay,
right,
they're not going to go for you. Doesn't matter what party you're in, okay? So no one can predict. Things will change. I don't believe the American public are going to buy the socialist communist lunacy.
So I want to ask about that because, of course, Democrats are arguing that, look, the win last night in Wisconsin means that the DSA is not as powerful as they think. But when you look at the Michigan race last week with Haley Stevens, a congresswoman, she lost to El-Sayed and immediately endorsed him and said she will campaign for him. And he's also someone who is not a big fan of Thanksgiving and American holidays, doesn't like football much either, according to things he said in the past. So, you know, the Democrats are trying to say that this is proof that they're more moderate than has been portrayed. But I think last night in Wisconsin, if Hong had won, they would have just gotten right in line with her election bid for November.
Oh, no doubt about it. They would have been celebrating in the streets of Madison and Milwaukee. But now they're in a conundrum, word of the day. So the savvy Democrats, like Begalia, those people, they know this far-left progressive communist movement is going to hurt them. Mm-hmm. They know that. The Republicans know it too. Yeah. But the Republicans aren't exploiting it the way they should.
What do you think they should do?
And I don't know why. Well, you've got to draw it out for the American people. You can't count on the media.
Oh, of course.
To report how extreme Mandami is, for example. I mean, how many times, even on this network, have you heard a pundit say, oh, Mandami's not a communist? Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
Okay? He wants to control the means of production in New York City. And that's what communists do. And when you do that, when you hit them with that, they have no reply. So the Republican Party, which lacks a leader, except for Donald Trump, I don't know how much more Trump can do.
Right.
I mean, this man, he works 24 hours a day, okay? He's going to have to carry the load of the campaign into November. I just don't know how he can do it physically.
Republican candidates got to pull their weight too. I mean, the president's been a good leader for the country, but the Republican candidates have to find their own way as well and find their own things to run on that are local issues to the normies, as we call them, in their states and their districts. But I want to get to this, Bill. You mentioned the media. The D.C. media, the White House press corps, is very, very upset over President Trump's reported Secret Service escape from Air Force One. Listen to this.
If it was not safe for the president to be on that flight, how was it safe for the media to be on that flight and to be lied to?
It's one of the many examples of how Donald Trump has lost control.
The idea that these unsuspecting reporters and others, White House staff, just didn't know is pretty remarkable.
So, Bill, I've flown on Air Force One in the press pool a few times. I've flown with the Secretary of State into Baghdad in the past. I assume that something could happen, and I understand that the Secret Service agent who is assigned to the press pool is not there to protect the press. They are there to protect the president. Now, I understand that they feel duped, but this idea that the Secret Service was there to protect them, I think they need to get over themselves.
Well, and there's another aspect to it. So there was some kind of plot, and I don't know the validity of it, but I believe the information came from Mossad, all right, to blow up the president's plane. To me, it looks half-baked, but I don't know. I don't get the briefings. So what are you going to do? What's your decision? You have to protect the president of the United States. You have to.
Of course.
Now, by protecting the president, you can't tell all the press, hey, we got a red alert here, somebody's trying to kill him. That's not what you do. So I feel bad for anybody on that plane who might have been in harm's way. I don't believe they were in harm's way because I don't believe that this threat, from what I understand, reached that level. This was a cautionary move, which anybody would do. But you can't be saying to the press, hey, the president's not going to be on because the plane may blow up. I mean, come on. These people are fools. And the people that they're just fools.
Yeah.
They don't know how it works. They don't care how it works. All they want to do is bash Trump all day, every day.
Yeah, I mean, there were cabinet officials who stayed on the plane in addition to the press pool. So, as you said, that's the way it works. That's the job you sign up for. And whenever you travel with the president, especially this president, you do put yourself at risk, and that's part of the gig. So I think they should stop whining about it if they want to continue that line of work. Bill, great to see you. Thanks as always. Hope to have you soon. The one and only Bill O'Reilly.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.